at understanding more deeply how to change hatred to love from the mitzvah of returning stray animals to their owner. So it says in chapter 22 of Devarim, Deuteronomy, you should not see et shor achicha or et seyo nidachim, your brother's ox or his sheep go astray, and hide yourself from them. You should surely bring them back to your brother. So the Gemara and the Midrash discuss the significance of every phrase. And they say all these phrases are necessary, all these examples are necessary. Except they could not find any explanation why it was necessary to mention the sheep. Understand the ox, then afterwards the donkey, the garment, and then when it says anything that's lost, that you shouldn't avoid your responsibility, you've got to help to get the animal or the article back to its owner. But the Gemara says, but we see the whole chapter deals with this subject. Why does it have to mention the lamb, the sheep? So, there's a big principle, especially in studying Torah in the Tanakh also, but above all also in understanding the way of the Talmud, the Gemara, that the words of the Torah are rich in one place and poor in another place. In other words, you might find a reference in one place where everything is discussed. You've got to look further in the rest of the Talmudical discussions, including the Midrashim, including the verses in the Chumash, to find out where you can find the answer. If you've got any question which you don't find an answer on that page, you've got to learn more and more until you find the answer. So this is a good illustration. There's a tractate called Makos. So at the end of the tractate, there's the following discussion between the great scholars of the Talmudical period. Omar Rav said, I'm very worried about the future of the people of Israel. It's similar to today also. Some people are really worried, isn't it? They say, what's going to happen to the Jewish people? Both in fact that there's so many being, unfortunately, have been lost in recent ages through cruelty of other nations, and the others have been lost through assimilation into marriage, and no longer feel they belong to the Jewish people at all. And where is this written? It's written in the Chumash. The Chumash which describes if the people of Israel don't keep to the covenant they made with God, with Hashem, they'll be driven away from the land, and then it's about what will happen. They'll be scattered amongst the nations. It says about Vadatem Bagoyim in Leviticus, Vayikra, chapter 26. You will become lost amongst the nations. There will be no Jews left. We lost 10 tribes years ago. And among the remaining tribes, so many have been lost generation after generation. And today, there are plenty of people dealing with statistics, and it's according to statistics, the majority of the Jewish people are going to disappear in a few years. As they say, that explains, Baruch Hashem, there are many Jews that at least keep their Jewish identity by their connection with the land of Israel, the state of Israel. I'm frightened. So Rav Papa said to him, another discussion, why should you have such fears? Perhaps what it means in those words, you become lost, it's a lost article that's being searched for, and not something that's destroyed. Aveda can mean you lose something where it's lost forever, but it can also mean when the people have not given up hope, some people, to find a lost article. And what does it bring? Really, what's mispakeshes mean? There are two types of lost articles. And your lost animals as well. There are articles that are inanimate, or then in a state they have no communication at all, no method of communication. So they get lost. The owner doesn't find them. He's been looking for years and years. He lost it somewhere. He maybe dropped into a deep pit, or maybe it got lost in a stream or in the ocean. You know, it's got lost, disappeared. Can't look for it. But there is such a thing as mitbakesh. It means that wants to be sought. In other words, that there's an animal that even if it's lost its way, and doesn't know anymore the way back home in any manner, and is very far away from the place where it was kept, was looked after. But the nature of a sheep is that if it's lost its way, it'll start making noises, it'll go from place to place, and make Baba black sheep, Baba black sheep, yeah. Baba, the sheep will go wherever it goes, seeking the shepherd, seeking the flock, wants to come back. And that type of sheep is referred to, if you'll turn to the longest chapter of Psalms, of Tehillim. Which chapter is that? You tell me. 119, the longest chapter. It's called also the 8th aspect, Tamya Apya in Aramaic. Why is it called the 8th aspect?
Each letter is repeated 8 times.
Pardon?
Each letter is repeated 8 times. No?
It's an acrostic. The first verse, the first letter of each verse is the Aleph base, 8 times over. So if you turn to the first verse of chapter 119, you can find it. Somebody's noticed the page in the Jerusalem Bible, it's easy. Everyone will find it more easily. What page is it? The first verse?
788.
788.
Oh, yeah.
The first verse comes there?
Oh, no, sorry.
What's the first verse?
Sorry, it's before that. 118. Sorry, 784. So, yeah, 784.
So page 784, it begins with the words of
Ashrei Tamimei Derech.
Actually 785. Ashrei Tamimei Derech Holchim B'Torah Hashem. Happy are those who have a path towards perfection. It's a path. Those who walk in the teaching of Hashem, of God. The whole of this chapter is a praise of a lifestyle of those who they have a path in life with a destination. The destination is to reach perfection, but not a perfectionist in the general sense in which it's used today frequently, the negative sense, someone who is not satisfied unless his house and home is in perfect condition, and therefore he's constantly in frustration because sometimes it's not as perfect as you would expect it to be, in any area of his life. Then it leads to frustration. But the Tamimei Derech, the path of the Torah, it's just that you feel a dynamism in your life because you know there's a proper path for you to go on, the path of Hashem. The path that our God has given to human beings to become more complete in every aspect of their life, as far as they can. But it's a path. Only Hashem Himself is completely holy. When it says Kadoshim Tiyu, it means you should be saintly, but it says Kadoshim without the Vav. Ki Kadosh Ani, it says Kadosh with the Vav. In other words, only I, God, am completely perfect. Tselem Elokim, you've got the image of godliness in yourself, but you're not the God. So that's it. Those who walk in the Torah Hashem, they recognize this non-stop. And then we have in a beautiful manner, all the way through, only the enormous joy and the great gifts that are given to us if we walk on the path which Hashem has chosen for Am Israel and also for the world to follow ultimately. So it is a fantastic book of Psalms, and the last verse is very unusual. You go right through the Aleph Beit, and then if you turn to the last verse, which is on page 789, it is Ta'iti kaseh oved, I have gone astray like the lost sheep. Bakesh avdecha, seek your servant, ki mitzvotzecha l'shechochti, because I have not forgotten your mitzvot. So this is what Rav Papa said to Rav. Rav said the Jewish people are going to be lost, it says. Yes, which type of loss? Kaseh oved, a sheep that's lost. A single lamb that had been lost from the flock, it seeks to come back to its flock all the time, and it also seeks the shepherd. And therefore, this whole description, Ashritim V'derech, it's all positive. It doesn't even mention explicitly the difference between Jew and Gentile. It means those who accepted this path of life, they are constantly happy, constantly growing, and they feel their whole life is filled with constant challenges to grow more. But then it says, unfortunately, the people say, many of them, I've lost my way. Ta'iti. It's a derech, it's a path, but the path is led to us by the leader of the flock, or by the Jewish people who are still the lambs of Hashem with God. They can show us the way. But I've gone astray. I'm a lost sheep. So therefore, what do we say? Please, seek your servant. We say to Hashem, to God, seek your servant, because really I've not forgotten your commandments deep inside. Deep inside I still have them, and I'm trying to come back. I don't know how to do it. How can I do it? I haven't been taught properly by the flock. I've been separated from the flock, or separated from the shepherd. So that's what Rav Papa came to give consolation to Rav. Then he says, so then Rav said to him, listen, but I've still got a lot of worries. What are my worries? The Pasuk says in the Chumash, when it describes what will happen to the lost Jews, V'adotem b'goyim, v'achla etchem eretz oivechem, which means the land of Emes will consume you. That means there will be nothing left of the Jewish people. That verse is more of a threat, the extinction of the nation of Israel, because it has a double meaning, that the Jewish people will become consumed, as it were, ate up by the nations to which we're exiled, because that's what's happened. In two ways. One is the physical extinction of Jews all over the world, in many different countries, and even though there are ups and downs, but unfortunately, nearly all the ups are followed by downs, by extinction of the Jewish people in different countries of the world. We have a brief period sometimes of success and appreciation, and then comes hostility and torture and burning, inquisitions, destruction of those Jewish communities. That's when the land around will become so hostile. Another situation can rise that even if it's affluent, in the affluence the Jews become Gentiles. When, let's say, Jews became more affluent after the time of emancipation, they got equal rights. So in Europe, hundreds of thousands of Jews became baptized to be able to be on an equal level, with the other nations. And even those didn't become baptized, but they gave up their Jewish identity. And they said, we're no longer Jews, we become secular citizens of the state where we are. It's happening today. There is a tide of return, a small tide, that really in comparison with the tide of assimilation, intermarriage in most countries, the diaspora, unfortunately the enormous tide, even tsunami we can call it, of intermarriage and assimilation is sweeping away the, in comparison, trickle of return. So this is the situation. That is, I'm afraid of that. So Rav was not happy. So Marzutla took exception. It said they'll consume you, but it's what it means is Israel consumed in the manner of cucumbers and gourds. Because when the nations will eat you up. But cucumbers, gourds, when you eat them, you can't eat the whole lot. There's some of the cucumbers come out okay, the gourds, and the others are left on the vine. So even from this, there's still a remnant left. And from the remnant, there will be the ultimate survival of the Jewish people. So, to go back to the Aveda HaMitbakeshet, that the Mashal has here a very interesting answer, the Aveda HaMitbakeshet, to the question raised in Bava Metzia. The Gemara there says, we don't know what it means when your lamb goes astray. To find the answer, you have to go to the end of Tehillim, in the way in which it's described here by Rav Popper. In other words, because as we developed yesterday, we explained that the mitzvah of Hashavas Aveda, it says Chol Avedas Achicha. It says in the Chumash that a Jew has the commandment to look after any stray animal where there's a certain sign, and where we can expect the owner still looking for the animal, and especially an animal that itself is looking for the shepherd, is looking for the flock. So we should know the Jews are really looking for a flock. In other words, as we explained yesterday, the mitzvah as it's put literally, the Chumash, is to regard to a stray animal. But as the Gemara says, if even with a stray animal, even if it's an enemy, you have an obligation to help that animal get back to its shepherd, to its flock. So how much more so, the person in danger of losing his own life, that the life that he's been given by Hashem, and he's in danger, let's say he can't swim and you can, you've got to save him. Or you're a doctor, can heal him, and he can't, there's no other doctor, there's no one healing him. So you know how to do it, so do it. And the Rambam was about this, was a doctor, and he learns out, it's Kal Vachomer, brought in the Gemara. The argument of mind is the major. From here he learns out that Hashevat Gufa Kal Vachomer. And as I brought you also from the Gaonim, there's a Kal Vachomer, which is the son of a Kal Vachomer. Another argument. If you've got to help the stray human being, or the human being is danger to losing his life, so even more so, you've got to help the one who doesn't know the path of life, and doesn't know the meaning of life, and doesn't know why he was born, doesn't know where to go in his life. So you've got to help him. That means, we speak today, Jews who've lost their path. And you were privileged to have a family that taught you the ways of the Torah, or you went to yeshiva and learned the ways of the Torah from a teacher. And you see there's plenty around who don't know what it is. They don't know the Torah, they don't know the Tefillin, they don't know the Tzitzit, they don't know the Shabbos, they don't know. So it's your duty to save your soul. Just Kal Vachomer for saving his body. You have to do it like Avraham Avinu did, and like all the great sages did. That's the major way which is described when the Ta'iti Kaseh Oved, also spiritually, and also knowing you You belong to a flock that was adopted by Hashem to look after them, and Hashem has asked those Jews who did survive all the big difficult tests and retain the knowledge and the tradition, so they have the duty to go and save the others. Hashavat Avedah. So you can say, this answers the question. Perhaps you don't understand clearly why the word "seh" has to appear in a Shabbat Avedah when it would deal purely on the lowest level of this mitzvah. But if you look at it, the Kal Vachomer, what you have to deduce from here, then it answers the question. That's what the Mashal says. Mashal says, the end of Makkas answers the Kashya at the end of Eilu V'Sid, the end of the chapter which deals with the return lost articles. I think this is the message of Hashem to Am Yisrael today, for those who are learning Torah. You're learning Torah, you've got to spread it. You've got it, you've got to pass it on to those who don't have it. You know the path of life, give it to others. So, if a person comes to the yeshiva and he feels that that's his responsibility, it can change his whole life, because he will treat also the time he's in the yeshiva, he'll use it to be able, each one in his way, to spread the great ideals of saving mankind today. Because who's going to show mankind the path of morality if not us, who've been given this as the charge to be fulfilled in our time? And yet Hashem, when that be fulfilled, and we're to go our way, then it, of course, obviously, then it'll change the nature of the Jewish people. We are the pilot groups in mankind who've got to save the spacecraft called Earth. That's what it really comes to. We are the pilots. So we're or potential pilots. We're going to train ourselves, learn as much as possible to be able to steer this spacecraft called the Earth in the right direction. And then, Mitzvah Hashem, the utopian future will become fulfilled. And according to a frequently quoted statement, if you will, if you only have the will, the dream will come true. So Hashem. Now, today, because if you've got any question on this, we have a few minutes for questions. But the Shir Chumash starts early, so there can be Shir also on Megillat Esther, but of Zitzman, and then also my son's Shir at 11:30. Half an hour Shir and 12 o'clock the Moshe. Any questions or comments?